Welcome to the show. Welcome to Your Thought Life podcast. I am your host, Michael Anderson. Today, we're looking at developing your leadership presence. So whether you're an entrepreneur or someone who is endeavoring to become a leader, or perhaps you're young in your leadership journey, your presence determines how others perceive and respond to you. This is a very important skill set to have as an up-and-coming or as a seasoned leader. And I've always thought of leadership presence as being about commanding and exuding a level of confidence whereby you can inspire others. I've seen some bad examples of this also, where some individuals just put a real bad spin on this, let's just say it like that to keep it semi-positive. Being the loudest person in the room is not what we're shooting for. It's that quiet, reserved, that everybody seems to notice. When you walk in the room, things just change from an energy perspective. Again, you need this specific skill set in your arsenal. Leadership, family, from a position of level setting, is your ability to project confidence, credibility, and authenticity, says the science of leadership. You need to be able to influence others in a way that they don't feel like they're being influenced. It's a combination of mindset, body language, and communication, mostly nonverbal communication skill, plus EQ, emotional intelligence. All of these combine together to create this woman or this man that is able to literally go into a place and get the results that he or she desires without others feeling uncomfortable. Studies from Harvard Business Review show that leaders with strong presence inspire more trust, drive better engagement, and create lasting impact in the lives of their peers and teams. We're now seeing from a science perspective and from a studies perspective how critical this skill set is. Many people believe leadership presence is something that you're born with. I want to just spell this notion. That's not true at all. In fact, I had absolutely no leadership in any part of my life, and I've been told by some that I do very well here. Not certainly tooting my horn by any stretch of the imagination, but it should signal that if someone with a background like mine can learn this, everybody can learn this, and that includes you. If you ever doubted your ability to command a room, to inspire others, know that you can cultivate this skill. And we're going to get into a couple of things that you can begin to do right away to change the trajectory from where it is to where you would like it to be over time. Some of the key things that I want to share with you that have been incredibly instrumental for me are just 4 items. But the first of which is cultivating a strong mindset. Everything we do here, family, is centered on the idea that mindset is incredibly important for achieving any of the goals, dreams, and aspirations that we have. Leadership, in the same way, starts from within. Confidence is built through preparation, self-awareness, and positive self-talk. If, in fact, you lack confidence, take an inventory. If, in fact, that you don't have a practice of truly preparing for whatever endeavors you have that come up in your life, you have to begin doing that. You need to take inventory of your level of self-awareness. Are you catching the subtle clues that your mind, that your brain, that your emotions and feelings are signaling to you to help you understand what's going on right now? Are you present? And then finally, the positive self-talk. Do you have practices where you spend time with you, getting to know you, removing any of the components that are standing in your way and backfilling those with positive commentary about you, what you can do, what you can achieve, what you can learn. This is what is effectively the nucleus of the strong mindset. And you should know that neuroscience and neuroplasticity, again, are on your side. They say that you can change, right? You can change your thoughts, which will change your behaviors, which will change your outcomes. And in this case, it will lead you down the pathway to these other three items that are really, truly going to help you have a greater degree of presence. Now, I want to share this really quick. The growth mindset is central to the strong mindset. The growth mindset says you may not know everything that you desire, but you can learn those things. You don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to remain in a cyclical pattern that's not serving you. You can break free, you can learn, you can grow, and there is no limitation there. That is a growth mindset. Now, let's proceed to number 2, which is mastering your non-verbal communication. Research suggests that over 55% family of the communication is nonverbal. Your posture, your facial expressions, your eye contact, the volume of your communication. All of these things come together to create a package that we are calling nonverbal communication. If you're coming in and your posture is not one of a confident person, if your facial expressions showcase that you're uncomfortable in this environment and you're not happy, that's going to begin to shape perspective. You can tell a lot about a person through just looking at their eyes, what they may be encountering on the inside or feeling. If your eyes are showing that you have some degree of discomfort, that is going to be communicated, whether you wanted to or not. So as you look at all of these components that make up the nonverbal communication, what you have to know is before you even get to your first group, your energy, your profile is about 3 meters ahead of you. So people are already feeling exactly the energy profile that you're bringing. And then you take that and combine it with these other elements, the posture, the facial expression, the eye contact, the volume with which you speak, and the clarity with which you speak. All of those are contributing factors to help people truly understand what's going on with you or what may not be going on with you, and why it is that some people show up and they can command a room and why others cannot. Just a little more on the nonverbals, because again, at 55%, this requires a little more rigor. We should be standing tall with our shoulders back. This exudes confidence. Should maintain steady eye contact, but not in a weird way, to show engagement. And this leans very nicely into authority. Use open hand gestures, right? These are non-offensive and they emphasize your point without you coming across as appearing aggressive. And then slow down all of your movements and avoid that fidgetiness sometimes we have, messing with your fingers, swirling your hair, rubbing your face. Try to undo all of those things over time and exchange those for calm, deliberate gestures at the right time to show your engagement. And if I could add a bonus here, when you're in front of someone, allow your eyes to fixate on them and not the other surrounding areas and other conversations and friends and so forth that you may see off in a distance. These are some fantastic things that you can begin to deploy right away. Let's move to number 3, and that is refining your speaking style. Now this was incredibly tough for me in the armed services. I briefed colonels and generals on operations, various types of operations. I got an opportunity to learn firsthand how to talk, how to speak publicly. A lot of people, they don't really have an opportunity to go through training. And so they go through a process where they start at a particular level, move into a supervisory role, into management, and now they're starting to get this sort of exposure, and it makes them very uncomfortable. Here's what you can do if that's you, or even if you're a seasoned person who's already on speaking circuits. These are some things that you can do. A commanding voice in leadership signals presence. You have to know that your vocal tone indicates to people a deeper level of perception about who you are, right? And to the extent that you're able to speak very slowly, very deliberately, very calmly, and very succinctly, small sentences, fifth grade level, it tells everyone that you are in firm control of you, all of your faculties, and therefore this situation. So speak with clarity, use intentional pauses. If you feel those sensations that most people feel when they get called on the spot to say something in a small or large crowd, know yourself well enough to know that's taking place. We spoke very quickly earlier about having a level of awareness of what's going on, being present in the moment. Stay in that place so that you can catch those subtle clues and then refine what is going on so that you stabilize all of those external factors that people would tend to see, but you wouldn't necessarily know are going on unless you were present. Lower your pitch slightly. And if you're like me and you have a fairly deep voice, take more pauses so that you can keep your mouth moist so you don't begin to create gathers and so forth. And to the extent possible, begin working on the recognition of filler words. People tend to associate those filler words with people being less intelligent or fearful. And if you're going to have presence, you don't want either of those two attributes to be assigned to you. And finally, one of the things we talked about on the podcast just a couple of days ago was this idea of storytelling so that you can engage at an emotional level and connect with that group of people that you're speaking to. And know that to the extent that you use storytelling, this is a phenomenal vehicle for you, even in a one-on-one situation. So far, we've talked about three things. We talked about cultivating a strong mindset, mastering nonverbal communication, refining your speaking style, and then we want to land the plane with the idea of developing EQ or emotional intelligence, because leaders with EQ are able to build stronger connections and inspire even more trust, because EQ in and of itself includes self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy with that certain person or that group, and advanced social skills, right? These are some of the hallmarks that really separate the senior leaders and the seasoned leaders from those that are up and coming for this specific discipline, right? Research from Daniel Goleman highlights that EQ is the biggest predictor of leadership success, right? More so than even IQ. So I think the natural question that springs forth from here is, how do you enhance EQ? I get this question an awful lot in the work that we do. Practice active listening, right? Stay totally focused and engaged in your situation, and don't be waiting for an opportunity to talk. Take in all of the information, give that good eye contact, and if someone presses a button, deny the behavior that would typically come when that button is pressed. Note it down for future reference so you can go after it in a more meaningful way. Make people feel heard is the big idea, and valued, especially in networking situations. This is a fantastic setup for you to develop some really strong partnerships And if you're able to come off in a way where that particular person felt heard and valued, they're going to be far more likely to engage in a prolonged relationship and tell others how cool you are. These are all positive attributes. You should also read the emotional cues and adapt your approach based on the energy in the room. I've already shared with you that your energy precedes you by 9 feet. Before you start moving into a specific group, take a moment and check out the dynamic. See what cues you're getting from that particular group and what are some of the other body language elements that are on display, and then do some mirroring as you come in. Say some of the same things. Begin to conduct yourself in the same way with the same sort of head gestures, same types of nods, right? Make yourself as though you'd always been in that particular conversation. And then when it's an opportunity, you can slip in with an intro, or you can begin to share if someone asks you a question. And then finally, there will be times when you'll be under pressure. There'll be times where you'll be put in an uncomfortable situation. I already mentioned one where someone presses one of your buttons. When these things happen, your chief objective is to remain cool, to not give off any signs that you were touched emotionally or either psychologically. And you're going to maintain a rock solid stance, and you're going to manage those emotions such that nobody knows at all that you've been touched. If you can just do these 4 things, family, you will be set up for a huge degree of success. Leadership presence isn't something that has to be perfect, but over time and trial, you begin to see what makes it work. And then you can become even that much more intentional. So start by developing a confident mindset. Start paying more attention and earnest to your body language. Refine your voice, your tonality, your inflection, and then start looking at yourself in tough situations to see how you can hone in on your EQ. When you embody these traits, you'll naturally become a fantastic leader, one who has presence on his or her side. So thank you so much for joining me today and for listening to the episode. We do thank you for your time. We thank you for your reviews, for your comments. Feel free to connect with us on Linktree. We've got all of the fantastic things we're doing consolidated into that one location. The link is available in the show notes. I want to remind you that you are enough. You can do it, and you're uniquely equipped to realize your goals. Until next time, take care and keep developing your leadership presence.